This channel wishes to be compliant with COPPA and the FTC and is not intended for audiences under the age of 13.
Hi everyone and welcome back to another vlog. My name is Owen and just here with another quick update on how things are going. So using the jigsaw piece templates that I'd shown in previous videos, it did actually speed up the production process. Especially when it's sort of one character just doing a bit of a monologue, as you can see here by the few shots of Melvin as we go through. Not only was I able to crank out several drawings quite quickly, but as you can see, the actual overall design of the character is far more consistent than it was previously. So I'm quite happy that this solution is working. And it'll definitely assist me in creating future episodes. But I do have some bad news, and that is I have injured both of my hands. I'm not sure how. I caught a cold about a week or so ago, and it's not unusual for me to have a joint pain in my hands when I have the cold or flu. But I got over the cold quite quickly, but the pain in my hands has remained, both in my joints when I try to use them and in the tendons as well, which makes typing, drawing, using a mouse, using controllers quite painful. So I have been to the doctor and we are running some tests. I'm not going to jump the gun and say what it may or may not be. One, because I don't want to jinx it, and two, there's no point in worrying about things when you don't actually know what it is yet. But it could range from something that's easily quite fixable with either rest or minor surgery, or it's something serious and permanent. So I'm not going to stress until the results actually come in. But I am under medical advice now to rest my hands as much as I possibly can until the results come in and we know what we're dealing with, and any non-essential activity is to cease for the time being. Non-essential activity at the moment is my two biggest passions, which is art and video games. The two things I love to do more than anything else in the world. I can't do right now, but it's short-term annoyance for long-term benefit. So what I've done for you today is we are doing another flashback to a previous character design. I used this video as a practice to see how my hands could cope just doing video editing. So I thought, oh, okay, if I can't actually work on new drawings, I can keep pumping out old videos. But even after, say, about 20 minutes of editing, it became incredibly uncomfortable using a mouse. So I think we'll still be okay for the two videos. I wanted to, as an apology and to make up to you guys, I wanted to pump out, like, oh, we'll just do one of these a week until my hands feel better. But I don't think, the way my hands feel at the moment, I don't think that's going to happen in the next week or two. I think for the time being, it'll just be only a couple of episodes a month. And then once we know what's going on, then I'll have a bit more of a long mid-term and long-term recovery plan and how the channel can get back up and running again. So I feel like I'm always making excuses at the moment, and I'm very sorry for that. It's incredibly frustrating, especially when what's a really soothing outlet for me, for my creativity, is art, and it's something I'm not allowed to do. Well, definitely for the short term, and then we'll just see what happens in terms of recovery. And I feel all I do at the moment is just saying, you know, there's delays, and now there's this. But there's nothing I can do at the moment in order to keep doing art in the long term. For the short term, it has to go on a break until we know how to fix these. Anyway, that's enough of playing the tiny violin. So till now, who can I recommend you guys watch? Well, whilst I'm out of action, I will always say go out and check out Katelyn McCaigue's channel. She is a fantastic creature and character artist, and you should really go out and check out her artwork. And on Instagram, also check out the art by Janelle Wilke. Who else do I recommend you watch in the interim? I haven't actually watched any of Jazza's stuff for a couple of months. I'm very out of date, but I always know he's got good stuff there, so definitely go check him out. And Brother Baston is also a very excellent character designer that I recommend you check out as well. So if you need an arty fix, you got some places to go. All right, so to close off, we have a blast from the past again from a character design series that I was doing using Jazza's Arty Games app. And this is going to be a design for an opera singing Chinese salamander called Sing. Pun intended. All right, everybody. So I'll let you guys know what's going on as soon as I know my results. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. And I will see you all when I next see you. Bye, everybody.
Okay, time for me to put on my storytelling voice. Born into a poor community within the waters of the Yangtze River, Sing, or at that time, she didn't really have a name, was one of 400 children. This little female salamander craved attention and desperately tried to stand out from the vast numbers of her siblings. As a small larvae, she desperately searched for food, whilst at the same time avoiding the hungry mouths of her brothers and sisters, for Chinese giant salamanders are indeed cannibals. Determined to leave this dire and poverty-stricken life behind, she snuck away under the cover of darkness. Despite her bright blue eyes, giant salamanders have poor vision, and her progress was slow as she began her pilgrimage to safety. After several days and nights, she found an abandoned burrow at the side of the riverbank and collapsed inside it, exhausted. Despondent and on the brink of starvation, the little female salamander was about to give up when she heard the sound of music coming from a nearby village. Mesmerized by the sound, she swam across to investigate. The animals of that village were being treated to a travelling show, and the music that drifted through the air was in fact the overture to an opera. The salamander crawled through the streets until she reached the audience, where she sat open-mouthed as the actors began the performance. She could barely see the stage with her poor eyesight, but she could feel the vibrations of the music zing across her skin. When the leading actress began her song, the salamander wept at the beauty of her voice. She began to hum along, but before she knew it, her emotions overcame her, and she opened her mouth and sang out the final note as loudly as she could, her voice drowning out the actress's. Amazed, the audience stood slack-jawed before bursting into applause. Confused and weak from hunger, the little salamander collapsed and fell unconscious. She woke up several days later, being cared for by the travelling actors. Music had indeed saved her life. She took the name Sing, which means star in Chinese, and was named by the village as the star of the previous night's show. Appropriate. She was then trained in the art of the Peking opera. Eventually, after many years, she became the leading lady of the show, her name and voice attracting patrons across from all the provinces of China. Although the stagehands would always have to point her towards the audience due to her poor eyesight. Rumours quickly spread that her voice was even enchanted, imbued with special abilities. Some even swore to any who would listen that Sing's voice would charm the very water of the Yangtze River to do her bidding, forming shapes and patterns in the air around her while she performed. Although Sing became comfortable in her new life as the star, she never forgot where she came from, and in her golden years made a special effort to seek out any salamanders in the audience and offer them employment in the show, so they would never have to suffer in the poverty that she did in her youth. Well, that was probably the first time I ever wrote a script for one of my episodes. I thought it sounded a little bit more professional than usual. So yeah, that is the story of Sing. Now, my apologies if I have mispronounced any of the Chinese words or names in here, but I did do some research, so I have done my best to try and keep it as accurate as possible. Now, I have become aware that sometimes during this video the colors are flickering, just as they're doing so now. That is something that is happening on my tablet when I'm applying pressure to the screen. The colors are flickering slightly. It's only just started doing that, in fact, just during this character piece. I have got online just to troubleshoot to see what is going on with that, and it is a known error. However, just restarting the program and the tablet itself appears to have rectified that issue. It's not doing it anymore, but I will keep an eye on it just in case, because the tablet's maybe a year and a half old, so I'm surprised if any errors are starting to appear, but I'll keep an eye on it because don't want anything going wrong with it now. But yes, so apologies for the flickering. It does rectify by the end of the episode. So as you can see, this is an interesting character because her natural body coloration is very dark and earth-toned, but the colors within the Peking opera costumes are extremely bright and saturated and flamboyant. So it's a very what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. Antithesis. That's what I'm looking for. It's the antithesis from her natural coloration to her costume. However, I love Buddhist and traditional Asian color palettes. They're just so bright and vibrant. Like going into a Buddhist temple and looking at the paintings, or even the pillars, and the painting, the actual painting of the walls and architecture. There's these beautiful bright colors, especially the blue. And in fact, I think by the end of the video I even cranked the saturation up even more to try and replicate that as best as I can. And this is always my favorite part of the pictures, once the flat colors are down, starting putting on the shading and the highlights, because it really changes a flat piece to a more three-dimensional character, really bringing it to life. And I just love the fact this is a dark brown, bluey black speckled character, and then we just got slap this bright makeup on her face, like the really bright pink eyeshadow, the red ruby lips, and these are all as accurate as they can be to my reference photography of the Peking opera. So I have tried to be as accurate as I possibly can in terms of the coloration. The patterning on the clothes itself, I've tried to keep more aquatic, given her nature and background. So we've got like water currents and the swell and the waves of a river in motion. The gold is mimicking scales of like fish and aquatic creatures, and then like sort of the seaweed trimming here on the lapels. The only thing that's a bit out of the ordinary is the fur trim collar, but that is part of the traditional piece, so that creative liberties there. Now, not the purple flowers on the sleeves, they're just generic flowers, but the purple and pink flowers that adorn the tiara, and in the centerpiece those are also my attempt at Chinese water lilies. I felt it very appropriate that if we were going to stick with a Chinese theme, we should go all the way. So Chinese theatre with a Chinese amphibian adorned with Chinese flowers. And no, I'm glad I spent the time doing the research on this, because for me, it takes the character much further and makes her a lot more believable and authentic. Alright, so now that we've done all the finishing tweaks to Sing, the character herself, we'll start doing some basic background. So just throwing in a very loose, rough shadow at her feet, and now I'm going to be doing the effect of the giant water bubble behind her. And I didn't want to go too far, like she was water bending from the Avatar series or Legend of Korra series, but I wanted to give that mystical feeling and that connection to the river, so I just did it in the form of loose bubbles. And I actually used the pattern stamp in Photoshop for the water effect, and I'm quite glad I did. I'm trying to use a lot more features in Photoshop to try and get a better experience. I was initially thinking of doing like an outdoor theatre, so I gave it a sort of a grassy floor for her to stand on, but that didn't feel right because I wanted the big drapes and the curtains. So then I just went for more of a loose wooden floor, loose patterning I mean, and then I constructed a simple theatre around her. But I didn't like that either. Although the colours and the setup is accurate to the Peking Beijing opera, I didn't like the purple curtains, and I felt it muddied the image a bit. So in the end, I just ended up scrapping it all and just took it really back to just the basic floor design and using the water as the backdrop itself. But I did keep the glow, because I felt it really added that ethereal experience to the water. And then there we are, they say crank up the saturation now for a better Buddhist palette. I think I give the backdrop one more go, just try and fill the white space a bit, but in the end I just thought, you know what, stuff it. It looks fine, just like that.
And so there we are, our finished character design for Sing the Salamander. Thanks for going on this design journey with me. I look forward to continuing this series, but until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and I'll see you all then. Bye everybody.